Today, I'm going to talk to you about what you can do with the strip tube ruler from Cozy Quilt Designs. I've made a lot of really cool quilts with this, but I also recently discovered that it can come in handy for just making simple half square triangles. So today, I'm going to show you some fun things you can do with it. So stay tuned. Hi, I'm Wendy Haney, and I've created this YouTube channel to help new quilters discover the joy of quilting and to find out it is not intimidating, and that they also can learn and discover how to quilt and be able to make wonderful things for their friends and family, because that is priceless, giving a homemade quilt. Okay, let's get started. Today, let's see if we can show you this. It's always fun to show a ruler. So we have our strip tube ruler from Cozy Quilts. Yep, last time we worked with another 60-degree triangle ruler. This is not a 60-degree triangle ruler, but it's very simple. We have a triangle, and you've got solid lines, which are basically full inch increments, and the dash lines are the half-inch increments when it comes to using this with strip piecing, if you will. So the cool thing about it, first of all, is I'm going to show you how you can use these to make half square triangles very simply. You start with 2 pieces of fabric, and you choose the size strip you need based on what you need for your half square triangle. And it's really simple. And I'm going to put a link in the description below to the information from Cozy Quilters on the ruler. Basically, if you need a 2-inch finished half square triangle block, then you need to cut 2-inch strips of fabric. I went the easy route because you know what? This is very, very handy when dealing with jelly rolls. So it's great. So work with 2.5-inch strips of fabric. I already did part of it. I have 2.5-inch strips of fabric, and then I sewed them together on both sides. There's the kicker. You're sewing your strips together on both sides. You do your 1/4 inch on both sides, and 1/4 inch accuracy is very important when it comes to this. So then, flip that over. Now that you've got your 2.5-inch strips sewn together on both sides, you take your ruler, and in this case, you're going to put the 3-inch mark, and this is where your little document comes in. Basically, what I've discovered is I'm doing a 2.5-inch strips to make a 2.5-inch strip that's going to give me a 2.5-inch finished block side, and I'm going to cut then, or I'm going to put the 3-inch measurement, so basically a 1/2 inch more than the strip size. I'm going to put that 3-inch solid line on the seam, not on the edge of the fabric, but on the seam. And then you'll notice you've got it right. It means it just nudges the top of the seam on your top seam. Because otherwise, if you try and put that on the bottom, or if you go any higher, you're going to get into that seam and it's not going to work. So we're going to do that. We're going to get that there, and then you're going to cut on one side, and then flip around. It's always fun doing it the opposite direction there. There we go. Wow. And I know this is a good blade because I just changed it. So now we've got it cut out on both sides. And you flip it over, and you might just have a little bit, you can just tug on that top if you've still got a little bit of a stitch there. And then you open it up, and look at there, a perfect half square triangle. And if I were to measure it, should be giving me, it's a 3-inch because I put the 3-inch line on my seam, and now I have a 3-inch square. And when you subtract your 1/4 inches all the way around, you're going to have a 2.5-inch finished square. I know, lots of math there. Don't worry about it. Just go to the document that I'm going to link to, and it's got this great table that's going to tell you exactly what you need to know. So now we've got one. All you do is come back to your strip and we flip it around. So now you match it up again and you've got your 3" there. And there we go. And now we've got another one. Put it in your pile. Now, here's the key thing. You've got this little notch thing going on. I don't know if you can see this. There's a little notch. So, if you were to put your ruler there again and put your 3" line on your seam, you're going to discover you're losing part of your triangle edge there and you're going to have a problem. So you just need to nudge things over a bit so that you get it full on the edge. So there's my seam. And now when I trim it, I have to trim both sides. I'm going to trim off that little extra. So that's something to be aware of. So you can't just, I always don't have enough pressure when I do it opposite there. So that's the key thing to note, is that you can't just, continue to do what I did on the equilateral triangle, which was flip, 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 and have it all go seam to seam. You're going to have to watch that little edge there and make sure you shift a little bit to your right so you get past that little edge. Don't worry, you still have plenty of room left in your strip to get plenty out. That's the other thing. The document that I'm going to link to shows you. It says this is how many blocks that you're going to be able to get from a strip. So you're completely sure that you have what you need and you know how many strips you need to cut. Now, that is the simple way to do half square triangles. But there's a lot more fun things that you can do with it when you use your jelly roll. I kind of went into my stash because of course I'm like, wasn't quite so prepared for this today, I'll have to admit. And I'm like, okay, so how are we going to demo this? Pulled out the drawer and went, oh, look, we got a bunch of jelly roll. And there's a lot of strips in there that came from combinations that I didn't use. So what you're going to want to do is go through your jelly roll or fabric. You don't need to use jelly roll. Go cut a bunch of 2.5" strips from fabric you like. In this case, I have lots of jelly roll, so we're going to practice with this. Interesting thing that I struggle with the most is that you're going to want to separate your jelly strip into sets of 4 fabrics, 4 of the same fabrics, because generally speaking, a jelly roll has so many of the same ones. So subset it into 4 sets of matching fabrics. And, well, that is usually my biggest struggle because I get a little anal about matching my colors and coordinating it and picking it out. What I do, I got my long arm back here and it has big poles, so I start laying out my jelly roll and I go, okay, that one looks nice together. Okay, that one looks nice together. Put it next to that one. Okay, and this one goes well with that. And I just kind of lay them out in piles and put them in groupings of 4 matching sets that work well together. So I'm going to go through my pile here and see if I can come up with a combination that looks nice. And then I'll be back to you and show you the fun that you can do with them when you go buy a jelly roll and everything's coordinated and you've got this wonderful ruler. So stay tuned, I'll be back shortly. After going through my pile of 2.5" strips, I kind of decided they came from the same jelly roll possibly, but whatever quilt I was doing, I didn't need all of them, and they were really some serious odds and ends that really didn't quite go together. But I managed to get together a variety of strips, 4 strips that coordinated fairly well together in 2 sets. So we're going to see what this ends up being and what do I do with it. Maybe a table runner, I don't know. But for now, it's for demo purposes. And they're batiks, which are my favorite. So right now, I have a strip, these 4 fabrics that I put together and went, okay, I like that. And I also like them to be in this order. So what I do is I always grab my phone. I don't know what we did before phones that we could take photos of everything. Oh, I want to remember that. Take a picture. So when you've got your strips laid out and you like the colors in a certain order, take a photo of it. So then you don't forget, because you'll rearrange it and you'll go, oh, which order did I have it in? And you want to make sure, so I have groupings of 4 strips and then another grouping of the 4 strips with the same colors. And I need them to be exactly the same as far as the order of the colors. So then I went to my sewing machine and I sewed 2 of them together. Then I sewed the other 2 together. Then you go, which order are these 4 supposed to be in? So then I always just, I lay them out. I lay them out, of course. Oh, I got my grouping over here. Got my grouping. So I lay them out and I want my burgundy to be in the middle next to that kind of weird green one. So there we go. That's the order I want them. So basically you want to press your strips so they both, once you've got them laid out the direction you want, do the seams so they go the same direction. Essentially, then when you roll them over, they're going to kind of sort of nest, even though that's not that big a deal. So then you fold them over, knowing now that they're in the order that you want, and then you're going to sew them, and you're going to sew them on both sides. Yep, you're going to create your tube, because remember, this is a strip tube ruler. So there we go. So we've got to go do that. I went and did it with another of my sets. So here we have it. I've got my 2 strips sewn together. Now, once again, we do just what we did before when we were creating our half square triangles with 2 pieces of fabric. We're going to put the 5.5 inch line on my seam. Toast that. Oh, that might be a decent piece. Anyway, so we're going to do that. And I'm going to do this. My guy will lickety-split this up so you don't have to watch me tediously do this. Make sure my strips are right. There we go. And then we've got my little edge here that's sticking out again, so I need to do a little shift to make sure that doesn't cut into my triangle. So right, well, dang it. There we go. Okay, we're going to do one more here, and then I'm going to show you what you've got. Okay, so basically that's what you're going to do down the entire strip. And then you've got these pieces of fabric. And guess what? The strips aren't all, there we go. That one's laid out the way I want. So just kind of like with the equilateral triangle, your squares that you get are different based on whether you were cutting this way or this way on your strip, which is really cool, which means there is a variety of things that you could do with this. So let's see, we can do this, and this, and this, and this, whoops, that. There we go. We've got that. Pull that up a little so you can see it better. We've got that pattern. You could flip it around and go like this. So now you've got your browns and your browns there. Let's see, what else could you do with it? You could do some interesting things with the angles. And let's see if I can do this. Well, there we go. We can do it with, let's see, flip this. Do that. There are just a ton of things. And I know there's a way to do an X. Let's see, what's the chance I can get an X for you without having to think this too bad? Probably not. But as you can see, you can just really have a lot of fun with this. Just play with it. That's the cool thing with this. Just play with it. So You also can, instead of having 4 strips of fabric, 2.5-inch strips, try having 2 strips of fabric, so using 2 of your jelly roll strips, and then picking out a background fabric and having your other strip of fabric. So basically when you sew 2 2.5-inch strips together, you end up with a 4.5-inch strip. So then instead of 2 other strips on the back, cut a 4.5-inch strip of some sort of background fabric. That is going to totally change the layout as well. You can have a ton of fun with this. So I'm going to cut my strips up. We're going to see where it lands, and then I'm going to get on the floor and start laying it out and see what I like. And that's exactly what you can do with this. So this is really a handy ruler to have. The Cozy Quilt Designs has a number of patterns, obviously, that use this. Go out and check one of those out. I've made several of them, and they're really fun. They turn out really, really pretty in batiks, but I'm sure they'd just be pretty whatever fabric you choose. Have fun with it. Hope you found that helpful. If you have any questions, drop me a comment below. Okay, I am back at you for a follow-up here before we wrap up this video, because I told you earlier in the video that you could twist and turn these squares that you've made in any way you wanted, and they would be amazing, and you'd have lots of different designs that you could have. Well, I discovered that's not quite the truth. I usually use a pattern from the company to use these blocks in, and well, I had watched another YouTube video that said you could twist these any way you wanted. Not quite. Here's the key thing. I laid out my blocks like this. See if I can get that just right, like this. And I had some interesting designs. I liked the way the lines went across. I thought this is cool. And then I went and sewed them together. Oops! Not quite so happy with it. They don't line up. Nope, they don't. So here's the thing you need to know. As you're laying out your blocks and figuring out the design you like, make sure your edges, your seams are actually matching. And I've got a picture here I'm showing you where if you, let's see if I wanted it like that. If you lay them out, and I'm gonna offset it so you can actually see the seams. But if you lay it out, you'll see your seams are not going to meet. So your seams don't meet here. Well, that means when you sew them together, you're going to get something like that. So, hey, if you like this and this is what you're going for, you're golden. That's great, but that wasn't what I was looking for. I was looking for straight lines to match. So what you want to do is make sure you, as you flip and turn them, that you actually do have seams that are directly matching. Therefore, when you flip them over, you actually kind of have nested seams. Let's see here, if I can show this right. They actually line up very nicely together. They're right there like that. I'm showing it in the picture here so that you can see your seams are kind of nested together and they lay nicely. So then when you do that, you're going to end up with things that look like this. So basically it kind of likes your block together in the middle. So I came up with one design and that I thought looked great. I laid it out, I started sewing the blocks together, and I ended up with a lot like this. And I was like, oh, what did I do? And that's when I realized you can't completely twist and turn them any way you want. There are still plenty of designs that you can do, so I ended up with this instead. So here is what I made for a table runner, and I'm going to add I think probably about a 3-inch border, 3.5-inch cut, 3-inch finished border all the way around, and it will be a nice size table runner. And this was all from the strip tube ruler, and I think it's going to be really, really pretty. So Remember that as you're putting your blocks together so you don't have the oops like I did the first time I started putting together. There you have it. Try out some new things. So this is one table runner. Here's another block that I've got together with my other fabrics. So there still is plenty you can do. Enjoy it, lay it out, make sure your seams match, and you will be good to go. Take care, have a great day. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video today. You can follow me by doing one, subscribing to this YouTube channel, hitting the bell icon on the subscribe button so you're notified every time I drop a new video. But you can also find me over on Facebook, Wendy J. Haney. So facebook.com/Wendy J. Haney. Also, I have a Facebook group for people that love needlework, books, wine, all sorts of things also. The name of the group is called Life Fulfilled, Quilting, Needlework, Wine. Basically, you can't miss it. It's facebook.com/group/Life Fulfilled. You'll be able to find it. You can also find me over on my website, wendyjhaney.com. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate all your comments and feedback that you're providing me. Take care. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video today. You can follow me by doing one, subscribing to this YouTube channel, hitting the bell icon on the subscribe button so you're notified every time I drop a new video. But you can also find me over on Facebook, Wendy J. Haney. So facebook.com/Wendy J. Haney. Also, I have a Facebook group for people that love needlework, books, wine, all sorts of things also. The name of the group is called Life Fulfilled, Quilting, Needlework, Wine. Basically, you can't miss it. It's facebook.com/group/Life Fulfilled. You'll be able to find it. You can also find me over on my website, wendyjhaney.com. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate all your comments and feedback that you're providing me. Take care.